Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games, the Week in Games. This is a weekly segment I do every month or two, apparently, where we go over the state of games in the industry, talk about a few things, catch up and see how everyone's doing, and generally rock on. I think the last time I did this was in June. I recorded one for July, and then when I went to go do it, I realized that I had the volume at like 1/10 what it was, and so I just said, forget it. We're going to start over. So it is August. It is August 2023. It is hot. It is hot, hot, hot. Though we're on the tail end of the heat. Looking at the predictions, it appears that we are on the tail end of the heat. We've had 90 degrees, 95, and in the 80s. Nothing like some of my other friends have had. And some of you who don't like heat, I applaud you greatly for enduring it. I know that the 100-degree heat factor in different places. Some of my friends in Kansas, for example, it's been really, really difficult for them. And so, again, my heart goes out. In this area, we've had just an upsurge of people with air conditioning. I refuse to have air conditioning. I don't like air conditioning, never have. My family's been like, oh, you horrible person, get air conditioning. Might be better for games, though. I might be convinced if it's better for board games. Either way, we just don't have hot enough weather that acutely, that much in this area to yet pull the plug on it or push the plug on it. Anyway, but yeah, it's been busy, as you can tell. It's been a really sort of paltry amount of updates lately. Hopefully that's going to turn a corner and change a bit once I get rolling. I've got some ideas on how to kind of simplify things. I don't know about you guys, but the summer has been absolutely nuts. A lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of everything. I mean, either, like, I swear, either I'm bored or I'm juggling the world. I don't know about you guys. I ended up last year buying some property up in the woods, in the mountains, about an hour or so away from here. And this year we're finding out that when you buy property up in the mountains, you've got work to do. You absolutely have work to do. And so I've been doing a ton of, like, brush and, I mean, just terraforming. Yeah. Like, who needs Minecraft when you can just do it in the real world, right? So... But then a night comes along and you just remember why it is you bought property in the woods. And I can tell you, man, it makes it all worthwhile. But enough silliness. Let's get to news. All right, my friends. Antoine Baza, known for Seven Wonders and a host of other games of varying degrees of success, has a new game coming out or on the way called Smurfs Hidden Village. I love the Smurfs, Papa Smurf, Papa Smurf, and Smurfette and all that lore, so I am looking forward very much to this game. I have no idea. Antoine always comes up with something crazy. For every Seven Wonders, there's a Dr. Shark, which honestly I actually really enjoy. A lot of people laugh it off, but I mean, any game that comes with a wooden shark, sorry, I'm gonna pick it up. Gloomhaven's second edition is on its way. Now I know this is a little bit older news, but it comes with a copious quantity of changes, and I think that are going to be better. Sort of rolling in some things from Frosthaven, which I still haven't got to yet. Stars of Icarios 1.5 edition is also on its way. There will be an update kit for those of us who really enjoyed the first game. I think that there's going to be just doing some improvements. There'll be a delta between what I bought and the 1.5 edition, so that'll be on its way here soon, I believe. The Isofarian Guard, which is still, even in my dabbling in its infancy, I think is one of the, it's definitely on tap for the, just the game of the year right now. But it's only August, right? And it is also doing a reprint, and with that reprint will come updates. As people have played its many hundreds of hours of gameplay, they found some things that they think have improved the game, and one thing about the people that have, the creators of the Isofarian Guard is that they're very receptive to feedback, and they look for ways to incorporate that feedback to make the game experience better for everyone. Win, 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 win. And finally, Zombicide has Monty Python expansion coming, and anything Monty Python must be purchased. Yeah. Yep. If it floats, it's a duck. And a witch. So which way do we go? Well, we go straight to the purchase cart and buy the Zombicide Monty Python expansion. Enough of that. On to my question of the week. So my question, well, I have a couple questions. I'm just going to stick with one this time. Is what's the kind of what are people's thoughts when you get these post-game official tweaks or updates? This has been kind of a larger scheme question as of late, just because we have larger scale games that are kind of coming out with these upgrades, like Stars of Karios, like I mentioned, Isofarian Guard, Mr. President, GMT with its new idea of having a yearly addendum where it takes any of the updates for some of its popular games, and once a year will create updated a counter sheet or rules or things that update them. Some people have been kind of grumpy about it, and it's fair. I accept their premise that why didn't you get it right in the first place? Why didn't I get life right in the first place? Like, you find someone who got life right in the first place and is still continuing to get life right. I want to meet them. I've got questions. But to me, I actually, within reason, there's always a reason. There's always there's extremes where, like, no, you don't just throw a game out and go, we'll just update it as we go, we'll figure it out. You get this churn. Nobody's going to like that. And then you have the ones who are like, well, we put it out and then we walked away. And you'll find the larger companies will do that. The big companies that just put games out, have no online presence, no support, no friendly face to them. They're on the other extreme, like, well, what you get is what you got. If you want to do some variant, whatever. I like this middle ground. I like the official tweaks when they're done methodically and orderly. This is something that happens in video games all the time. And whether you like that parallel or not, it's reality. Video games there'll be updates, there'll be tweaks and fixes, particularly if you're online gaming or doing games as a service kind of thing. We're like, okay, well, we're going to make these changes. Oh, you nerfed my character, blah, 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 blah. But I do like this trend for games that are significantly sizable enough that you're making the experience, the investment, much better. Like, if I had a game called Flux and someone needed to rewrite the rules and make it better, it'd be like, it's not worth it. It's Flux. But if you've got the Isofarian Guards, Stars of Akarios, anything with a large campaign set going on where you really are investing almost to RPG level, the greater the magnitude of effort and scope that goes into the game, the more inclined I am not to sweat small stuff, errata, changes, or wherever, because you are looking at someone's magnum opus, someone with tremendous amounts of time, and the larger the system, the more prone it's going to be to having things that didn't quite get vetted, for zillions of years to get to the point where they were released. I have, for example, I could live my whole life without ever needing an upgrade pack for Isofarian Guard, Stars of Akarios, Gloomhaven, whatever. But the fact that they're willing to do that is tremendous to me. GMT always gets applause because I think they put out some of the more complicated fare, and they do so with just what I think is very reasonable rigidity to testing, rigidity to understanding. Not every game is awesome. There are some issues where games come in, Mr. President, as we played it more, some people have come out with things that are like unclear. But just that fostering and refining of developing the game into something better, whatever. If the game isn't flat out, busted, and I've not yet found one, then why not? Why not? I'm okay with refining it over time. Always would like a bridge, an upgrade pack for people who invested first, but willing to wait for that. But that's me. That's my thoughts. I tend to be a generally chill person unless you're just messing with me. If you have a game, smaller the magnitude of the game, the larger big errors are going to stand out and be. I just watched a video of a game today that was just a little party game, but it spelled length wrong in every card. I'm like, okay, come on, that's silly. But then you take Mr. President with its 13 books, and you're like, this is a magnificent endeavor. And if it had a few things that weren't quite clarified or issues, whatever, much more able to live with that because of the scope and magnitude of the effort and just the amount of years going in. But yeah, I'm a don't cast the first stone person, because if I tried to do that, I guarantee you, as someone who's made an effort to try and just as a prototype build a helper guide for a game of earlier this year, there's a scope and magnitude of complexity that goes into it that makes it almost an art form in itself to have rules and stuff. So anyway, what are your thoughts? What's your line when you're like, okay, get it right the first time, even if it takes extra years, if that's even possible, versus I'm okay with some fluidity to that. So let me know. And that's it. Let's get to playing, reading, watching lately. Okay, what board games am I playing lately? Well, the last review I did was for the Last Kingdom, and I am still playing that game, and I've become more and more impressed with it as a licensed product with a full-featured gaming experience. Kudos, John Declare, the designer, for doing so. You put your all into that game, and I'm impressed. Mr. President, I've got on the table. It has to be on a secondary table, or else I'm never going to play anything else. And so I'm slowly making my way through that. I'm keeping track of the forums and stuff with other people kind of talking about their experiences. But this is, Mr. President is almost a phenomenon rather than a board game. So for Northwood, I finally got that little solo trick-taking game, and so I'm giving that its paces up at my property, in fact, because you can actually bring it. It fits this size, and as long as I don't get it wet or accidentally throw it into the well, we'll be fine. And Scythe Expeditions I started on, but unfortunately, and this is one of the reasons why you may notice a little bit of rearranging behind me, the shelf that I had all my GMT games on collapsed in the middle of the night, and all of those boxes and all their hundreds of pounds came crashing down right on my copy of Scythe Expeditions. So if this wasn't a sign from God, what was? I'm kidding. But the Scythe Expedition did not go well. None of the expeditioners returned. So I have it's pretty crushed. I'm gonna build the pieces back up and whatever and get it at least into a state. But yeah, it's pretty much toast. So yeah, nothing much on Expeditions yet. What about you guys? Video games. I finished Dishonored and Dishonored 2. I decided to go through those. Glad I did. I went back to Far Cry 6 for a bit, but I decided I didn't. As much as I enjoy Far Cry's, and I really do, I love Far Cry 4, I like Far Cry 5. Far Cry 6 is probably one of the best, but it's so vast and big, but I feel very much like I love progression. I want to find more weapons, more things going on, and I'm really kind of nestled into, these are probably the best weapons I can get. It's almost too much. And I hesitate to say that because I love open world games, and I will finish Far Cry 6, but I wish that there had been ways to sort of, they have great unlocking of areas, but I would really prefer that the weapons and sort of the feeling of like building up and getting better was sort of linearly correlated to that. And then Baldur's Gate 3, I have looked at the loading screen. Yeah. Because if I get into that, I'm not going to have time for everything else, but I have to. I have things to do, so maybe this fall, I'm thinking maybe Christmas or fall, and also Starfield coming out. So there's that. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Oh, also, Undaunted Normandy, Alpha Early Access has come out, and I enjoy it. They're working feverishly on making it better. It's it's not an eye pleaser. It's decent, serviceable game. I'm enjoying it, and it's just nice to go in and be able to play more Undaunted, and they'll make improvements over time. So I think that has some potential. As for books, what am I reading? Well, I'm reading a book called The Unseen Realm, which I'm about halfway through, and I encourage anybody. Some of the people that have recommended books to me may find that to be very interesting as well. And I decided to go back and read the Witcher books, because I watched Witcher 1 and Witcher 2, and then I couldn't even Season 3 sucked so bad that I just didn't bother. Like, I'm out. Like, let me go read the stories. And now that I'm reading the stories, I'm like, wow, Season 1 and 2 weren't all that awesome either. I'm actually much more interested in the books. And so I'm just going to go ahead and switch over to book mode. And what am I watching for TV? Well, I just kind of gave it away. I finished The Witcher 1 and 2 to get back into that. I started a series called Person of Interest, because I read up about the protagonists of the Sound of Freedom movie, and this was one of the ones that he'd done in the past, and so I gave that a shot. Finished The Tudors again, and that was, again, historical fiction, Last Kingdom, Vikings, Valhalla, all that stuff. Still looking for another kind of historical fiction series to go through, and Bluey, because my grandkids love Bluey, and I really like Bluey. I think it's probably one of the cleverest little shows that I've seen since The Wiggles. So, anyway, let's get to Tumbleweeds of Time. All right, Tumbleweeds of Time. The year is 1975. Who was born in 1975? Well, of course, Angelina Jolie, Tomb Raider, and much, much more. She was and is and remains to be an enigmatic personality in the industry. Famous deaths, General Franco, who oversaw the Spanish overthrow and became its ruler for many years. He passed away in 1975. Popular slang for 1975, and this was a surprise to me, was downsizing. I always thought that came about more in the tech industry, when it was a nice euphemism for "you're fired, get out of my face." But downsizing, trimming down, was something in 1975, something I think I could do very well of. Popular fad at the time were pet rocks. This was the year when those stupid pet rocks came about. It came, it went. I mean, people were all about it, and then a few months later, it just hit rock bottom. Popular pun. I'm not saying it's a good pun, but good news, I just inherited an estate from my great-grandfather. Bad news, it's a 1975 Volvo. Maybe they thought it was funny. The best song was "Love Will Keep Us Together." At least until the husband and wife duo divorced in 2014. But I guess the song was not part of the the estate. Anyway, best sci-fi movie was the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I do remember. Even in the 80s in high school, we would have groups of people who would go down to an old theater in Shoreline, and every Friday night they would do the Rocky Horror Picture Show. People came in dressed up as Rocky Horror Picture characters, and everybody just talked the lines. They would memorize the lines. It went on for years. Yeah. Weirdest story was the exhibition of rat art. In March of 1975, Dr. Richard Cimbalo of Rosary Hill College held an exhibition of art created solely by rats. The proceeds from the show went to the school's psychology department. He explained that the rats painted using their front paws to grab a brush extended into their cages. Each rat, he said, had its own distinctive artistic style. Who would have thunk? So yeah. A popular board game was Dungeon, which you can still find at stores today, even this many years later. And how many aardvarks lived in Jamaica in 1975? Well, 0. And that's it. That's what we have. I hope you guys are doing well. Look forward to hearing how things are. I'm planning on trying to get a little more content going now that we're winding up summer. I have had 6 weddings and 2 funerals to go to. So if you ever watch 4 weddings and a funeral, I've topped it now. So still got a couple weddings to go. Really hoping not to have any more funerals. Got another one coming up. But anyway, take care, God bless, and we'll see you next time on Hairbrain Games.